कुंज बिहारी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदा नंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Hare Krishna. So today we are discussing the verse number 26 from 25th chapter, 3rd canto. So let me share the screen. I hope my desktop is shared. Okay. So we will start with the verse. Bhaktya puman jat virag aindriyad drashta shrutan madrachanuchintaya चित्तस्य यत्तो ग्रहणे योगयुक्तो यतिष्यते रजुभिर्योगमार्गैः. Does anyone wants to chant the verse? Okay, so let me read the verse word by word and then we can go to the translation and Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Bhaktya, by devotional service. Puman, a person. Jata viragaha, having developed distaste. Andriyat, for sense gratification. Drishta, seen in this world. Shrutat, heard in the next world. Mat rachana, my activities of creation, and so on. Anuchintaya, by constantly thinking about. Chittasya, of the mind. Yattah, engaged. Grahane, in the control. Yoga yuktah, situated in devotional service. Yatishyate, will endeavor. Rijubhi, easy. Yoga margai, by the process of mystic power. Translation. Thus, consciously engaged in devotional service in the association of devotees, a person gains distaste for sense gratification, both in this world and in the next, by constantly thinking about the activities of the Lord. This process of Krishna consciousness is the easiest process of mystic power. When one is actually situated on that path of devotional service, he is able to control the mind. Purport. In all scriptures, people are encouraged to act in a pious way so that they can enjoy sense gratification not only in this life but also in the next. For example, one is promised promotion to the heavenly kingdom of higher planets by pious fruitive activities. But a devotee in the association of devotees prefers to contemplate the activities of the Lord, how he has created this universe, how he is maintaining it, how the creation dissolves, how in the and how in the spiritual kingdom the Lord's pastimes are going on. There are full literatures describing these activities of the Lord, especially Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Samhita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. The sincere devotee who associates with devotees. Prabhu, there is a background noise. Can everyone go on mute, please? Okay. The sincere devotee who associates with devotees gets the opportunity to hear and contemplate this subject of the pastimes of the Lord, and the result is that he feels distaste for so-called happiness in this or that world, in heaven or on other planets. The devotees are simply interested in being transferred to that personal association of the Lord. They have no more attraction for temporary so-called happiness. That is the position of one who is yoga yukta. One who is fixed in mystic power is not disturbed by the allurement of this world or that world. He is interested in the matters of spiritual understanding or the spiritual situation. This sublime situation is very easily attained by the easiest process, Bhakti Yoga, Rijubir Yoga Margair. A very suitable word used here is Rijubhi, or very easy. There are different processes of Yoga Marga, attaining yoga perfection, but this process, devotional service to the Lord, is the easiest. Not only is it the easiest process, but the result is sublime. Everyone should therefore try to take this process of Krishna consciousness and reach the highest perfection of life. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakayah Chakshur-unmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu-padaya Krishna-prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikas Swaminiti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu-padaya Krishna-prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I welcome all the devotees for this morning Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. And I'm doing this discussion for my own purification. Thanks to His Grace Narayan Padmanabh Prabhu for uh, inviting me to discuss this today. Now, we have been reading this chapter from third canto, where Lord Kapiladev, he is giving the discourse to his mother Devhuti about the glories of devotional service. This chapter is titled The Glories of Devotional Service. And a lot of beautiful verses Lord has spoken. He has spoken in the previous verse, what is the need for association of the devotees, because devotees take pleasure when they hear the pastimes of the Lord. They take pleasure in contemplating the activities of the Lord. And this can happen only in the association of devotees. And in fact, Prabhupada has written in a previous purport that association of devotees is actually association of Supreme Lord. There is no difference between association of devotees as to what association of Lord can be. Although we see that there is a distaste normally when a person joins devotional service, when he or she comes as a neophyte stage to the devotional service, because our activities are not aligned as per the devotional service which is prescribed by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. But as and when we make progress, gradually we attain a state where slowly the taste for material activities diminishes, and we tend to develop the taste which is for the Supreme Lord. And when we discuss about the devotional service, that is very important to understand that it's a service, and service can only be rendered to a person. We cannot render service to an impersonal thing. For example, we are sitting here. All of you can look around you. You have a lot of articles kept. You have table, you have chair, we have laptop, we have so many gadgets, but we are not doing service to anything impersonal, isn't it? We are doing service because there is somebody who is a personal, who is having a person or a personal aspect. So whenever we say devotional service, Prabhupada says that a service means there is a person connected. We cannot do service to impersonal. So when the commentators of Bhagavad Gita, they say that, it is not Krishna who is saying that. When Krishna says that man mana bhav mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru, it is not that Lord Krishna to whom you have to give service. It is his mind or it is his body to whom you have to do service. But they are not knowing that there is no difference between the Lord Krishna, Lord's mind, his body, because the Lord can eat from feet. The Lord can basically hear from his eyes. All his senses are actually absolute. And when we say absolute, there is a platform where there is no difference. Lord's names, Lord pastimes, Lord's remembrance, it is also not different from the Lord. So when a person or neophyte comes to see the Lord in the temple, then the neophyte doesn't understand that it's Supreme Lord sitting there. He or she might think that it is a stone, but Prabhupada says that it is not a stone. Lord has taken the form of a stone because we have our blunt senses. Our senses are not equipped to understand how to do service to the Lord and who Lord is. So just to give a medium to help rendering our service to the Lord has very kindly assumed the form of Archa Vigraha. So the Lord is sitting in the temple in the form of Archa Vigraha because he can accept our service by that medium. Imagine if we have the Virat Rupa of the Lord, and at the same time, Lord is present in every atom. But it is not possible for us to see Lord in every atom because it is very, very minuscule. It is at a submicroscopic level. We can't go there. And nor we can go to a very gigantic level, that Virat Rupa of the Lord. So Lord has assumed the form which is suitable to be worshipped by the devotee. And this worshipping process is not possible without association. Association is the only thing where we can perceive these things in reality and appreciate this. So in the previous verse, Prabhupada has written that devotees dislike any material association. They always look for meeting devotees and discussing Lord's pastimes in that congregation of devotees, because a devotee can only appreciate the qualities of Supreme Lord. And we have to come to this stage of constant remembrance, because otherwise we will not be able to perceive Lord's qualities. Just 1 minute. Yeah. So the Lord, he has a very sweet relationship with the living entity. Prabhu, there is a noise in the background. I'm constantly getting disturbed. Can somebody please go on mute? Okay. So a Lord has very sweet relationship with the devotees. When Lord Krishna was driving the chariot of Arjuna, I think Lord has to obey the commands of Arjuna. When Arjuna says that please go to left or please go to right, then Arjuna did not have time to tell by words or by hands. So Arjuna used to tap the shoulder of Lord, on the left. When he will tap from the feet to the Lord's left shoulder, then Lord has to turn the chariot right, left, and then right. So this is how the reciprocation was there from the Lord to Arjuna. Although Lord is Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he takes pleasure in rendering service to his devotees. And that's why Lord is called Achyuta, means infallible. Lord never falls in favoring the devotee of the Lord. And this surrender process, when we were discussing Bhagavad Gita, we say that we have to completely surrender ourselves. But this surrender is not something which can happen in one day. It has to happen gradually. This process is gradual process. It takes time. As we understand that any service which is rendered to anybody, it takes time. For example, if we go to office, we render service to our boss, our superior. It is not that immediately on one day we will develop an impression of what kind of service we are rendering. There is an appraisal cycle, there is a feedback which goes after a year, and it takes multiple years sometimes for people to prove their worth and then go to a next level. Now imagine if just for a small duration of service which we all do in material world, we have to take time of multiple years. Imagine our lost relationship with Supreme Lord. In order to re-establish it, how much patience we have to show. We have to be patient. We have to understand and appreciate that this process is gradual. It cannot happen overnight. And what is that stage? Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena. We should be seeing Lord with the eyes which are pointed with love. Only then we can see the Lord as it is. Till then, we have to follow the process. We have very detailed process, Pancharatra Vidhi, which is prescribed by our dear Prabhupada. And why Prabhupada has given all these services? Because to help us forget the association of material activities. Prabhupada once said that a grahastha need to have 70% of the time thinking about Lord. And how it is possible? By all the processes of preparing bhoga for the Lord, doing aarti for the Lord, calling devotees on Sunday programs, organizing festivals. We have seen in Seshadripuram, Lord Jagannath Rath Yatra, so much preparation, so many preparations has to be made. And management, they are busy in planning how do we organize such a mega event. And that is also is requiring thinking for Supreme Lord. How do we serve Supreme Lord? How many people will pull the chariot? How will the lords be seated in the chariot? What kind of clothes the Lord will wear? Uh, how will the flowers will be decorated to the Lord? Then what kind of prasadam will be prepared? Because obviously Jagannath is eating God, and he is taken this merciful form where we can offer bhoga to the Lord. And somehow in my life, I have always been engaged in service of Lord Jagannath, because I was in base, and then we had very beautiful Lord Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra in our base. And in temple, we have Lord Jagannath. I have also got a golden chance of going to Rath Yatra in Puri. So my engagement with Lord Jagannath is very special, and I really appreciate. If I don't see Lord Jagannath anywhere, I feel like missing something. Seems like there is a connection. So we have to assume a servitorship to the Lord in any form we like. Somebody might be attached to Lord Chaitanya, somebody might be attached to Lord Narsimadev, Radha Mathurapati. Whatever is your relationship, you have to endeavor to do any kind of service to the Supreme Lord. And not only Supreme Lord, there is no difference between Lord's pure devotees and the Supreme Lord. So we should also be eager to render devotional service to our seniors, our superiors, and our god brothers, god sisters, temple management, and lot of other devotees who are also cooperating with us to have the temple run successfully. These all things are in combined called devotional service, because we are serving the Lord's pure devotees, and helping people to have this consciousness of constant remembrance. There is a verse, I think I have noted down that. Let me open it. Yeah, so we have this verse which is called Smartavyo Satatam Vishnu Vismartavyo na jatuchit Sarva Vidhi Nishedhasyo Etayo Eva Kinkara. There is a process of constant remembrance of Lord Vishnu. And Vismratavya na jatuche. So there are two rules. First rule is always remember Lord Vishnu. And second rule is an amplifier of this first rule, which is saying that Vismratavyo na jatuchit. Please don't forget that you should never forget Lord Krishna and Lord Vishnu. Sarva Vidhi Nishedhasyo Etayo Eva Kinkaraha. Sarva Vidhi. All the do's. The Vidhi means the do's. So when we do some favorable thing to something, this is called Vidhi. And then Nishedh. So basically there are don'ts. So there are do's and don'ts. If we read Shri Ishopanishad and the Nectar of Instruction, there are do's and don'ts. What are favorable devotional service, and what are the factors which are unfavorable to devotional service, which we should not do. So all the do's and don'ts are actually the servants of these two rules. What is that? First is always remember Lord Vishnu. And second is please don't forget that you have to remember Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu and Lord Krishna are same. So when we say Lord Vishnu, it's actually, you can think of Mr. Modi, right? Our Prime Minister Modi. He goes to some particular conference, let's say G20. Now, in that conference, Mr. Modi has a particular countenance. He has to have a particular action, very controlled. He can't crack jokes there. So that is the form which Mr. Modi has assumed, because that is suitable for that particular occasion. Similarly, Lord Vishnu is also like that. He has taken that form of Lord Vishnu, where he is taking care of this material creation. As Prabhupada writes that we should be knowing why the Lord creates this universe. why does the creation dissolves? So Lord has to basically do these duties also, because we stubborn souls, we have rebelled Lord in the spiritual world, and we were saying to the Lord that, we don't want to be basically be with you. We want to have an independent uh, livelihood. And then Lord created this material world for us. So he also has to engage himself for these thankless tasks. So Lord is doing these duties. And similarly, so when the Lord is actually with his devotees, he fully opens himself. He cracks jokes. He takes pleasure in playing with them. He accepts the offering made by the devotees. He does all kind of activities, and that is Lord Krishna. So there is no difference between Lord Vishnu and Lord Krishna. Both are same person, Mr. Modi, but Mr. Modi in his cabinet, where he is able to speak in any way, and when he is with his friends, then he acts in a different way. Versus when he is in G20, it has to be a very formal relationship, right? So Smartavyo Satatam Vishnu, Vismratavyo Najatuchit Sarva Vidhi Nisheshadasyo Evatayo Eva Kinkaram. So this is very clear that all the activities of devotional service are meant to always remember Lord and never forget him. Now, how do we remember this? So basically, the conditioned souls, they are not prepared to receive the transcendental knowledge of devotional service, because this is our disease, our condition. What is conditioned state? It is a condition that, okay, if my things will be done perfect, if my world is in order, my life is basically going on in a particular way, only then I will be able to think about Lord. We have put a condition before assuming the full surrender to the Lord, and that is called conditioned life. That conditioning can be because of our constant association with the material world, since we have been away from the Lord, because we have brought under the control of the three gunas, right? The Rajoguna, the Satoguna, and the Tamoguna. So these, we are some, if we observe our daily activities, right from the time when we get up in the morning, if you carefully analyze, we are actually in a certain state of material mode of our day. So when we wake up, and some of us, we wake up very early in the morning. I think most of us, we do Mangalarti, we hear nice kirtan, we do chanting, and then we do bhoga offering to the Lord, then we accept prasadam, and then after that we go to office. Now, before going to office or before going to our work, this time where we are actually waking up and hear about Lord, chant the holy names of the Lord, this is in transcendental mode. It is neither in mode of goodness, nor passion, nor ignorance. But as and when the day progresses, slowly these material modes start to take over us. We slowly come into the influence of mode of passion. We might be having a particular work which at office has to be finished, and which means that we have to put our hard work there, and we have to do creative thinking and all that. So slowly the mood of passion takes over us, and then we have to act in that way. Similarly, when in the afternoon we go and discuss with, there might be non-devotees also in the office, and then we might be in the mode of tamoguna, where we might be cracking jokes which are of material nature, and it might not have any relevance to devotional service. So we go there and then have this kind of thinking. Then in the night we get tired, we return home, we don't have any energy. We might be taking rest and maybe some kind of leisure with family or something. So that is in mode of ignorance, because now it is actually resting time. So we if we see our daily life, we are actually moving in a waves of these material modes. And if we somehow try to figure out that how can we bring devotional service or the remembrance of Lord into these phases of the day, then we can realize that actually we can be more Krishna conscious throughout the day. And for that, we have to follow the process of engaging with devotees, the process of Archavidhi, which is basically chanting, doing archana, then offering the bhoga to the Lord. So even if we are at office, we can keep small picture or a small deity in the table, and then we can offer to the Lord. We if even if we come from work, or let's say come from a meeting, we will see the Lord, and that will make us remember Lord more. So try to mold our life. If we are grastha, then we can mold like that. If we are brahmacharis, anyways, we are doing this service throughout the day. So we have to be very cautious that how are we spending our daily time. And not only for ourselves, we should be uh, thinking about others also. We are devotees, and devotees are meant to preach, and devotees have to go to different parts of the country to preach, and they should be very, very calm. They should be tolerant. Sometimes, as we said, that conditioned souls are not prepared to receive the transcendental knowledge because that is their disease state. We have to be tolerant. Suddenly, if somebody starts scolding us, or let's say not doesn't appreciate that, doesn't mean that we have to retaliate. We have to be we have to be compassionate to them. We have to really understand that maybe this devotee or that person is meant to be transformed in some other way. We should leave it to the Lord. We should move ahead and then continue our duties, right? And this, we can understand that this all behaviors where we are forgetting that what is our lost relationship. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that urdu moolam adashakam ashwatham prahur avyayam. This material world is actually a reflection. So in a bank of river, if you stand, we have this tree which is standing straight. Its reflection is there in the down, in the water. And when an apple falls at the real tree, it appears that in the reflection, the apple is actually raising upwards because it's a reflection. So all the relationships of attachment, allurement, instead of being towards the spiritual entities, it is being done on the opposite, which is material nature. And this is a disease state. So we have to be we have to be compassionate. When a doctor treats the patient, doctor sometimes get hit by the patient. If the patient is in extreme pain, then patient hits the doctors, but doctor doesn't feel bad because doctor knows that that's a disease state, and then he and she continuously try to continue with that thing. Yeah. Now, in the previous verses, it is written very beautifully that in the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Lord is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Now, this is the point where this attraction becomes fixed. And how that process is done, it is written that Ata Krishna Namadi na grahyam bhavati indriya. Sevan mukhe hi jivhado. So Lord Krishna's pastimes, his activities, they are of spiritual nature, and these cannot be understood by blunt senses. And in order to purify the senses, we have to do service, and the service starts from tongue, which is our first thing, which is basically chanting the holy names of the Lord. We should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We should continuously chant this mantra, and then we should do Nagar Sankirtan. I think a lot of devotees are doing Nagar Sankirtan these days. Our book distribution is really fired up. We are doing Srimad Bhagavatam distributions now in the streets, and also taking contacts. So we should engage in spreading these books, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has told once that all these books and all these activities of the devotees which are done for devotional service for the satisfaction of the Lord is called Brihad Mridanga. So when we play Mridanga, the sound, the transcendental sound from Mridanga, it goes and it fills the space. So similarly, the activities of book distribution, Nagar Sankirtan. This is like Brahad Mridanga. And by chanting the names of the Lord, by giving the discourses on Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, we satisfy the Lord by this Brahad Mridanga. And this has to be continued. That is the process given by our acharyas. And there is a specific title given to acharyas, Prabhupada. We say Prabhupada, right? What is that meaning? A person who is always lying on the lotus feet of the Lord. That is called Prabhupada. And there is another meaning of Prabhupada is that the person who motivates others to basically go to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And there is no difference between Lord's lotus feet and his face. Lord is absolute. When we discuss the pastimes of gopis in Vrindavana, everyone was always thinking of the Lord. Everyone was always thinking what Lord Krishna is eating, what does he want to eat, what does Krishna feels like doing, what kind of dress he needs to wear. And every time whenever Lord is out for grazing cows in the forest, the mother Yashoda, all the gopis, they used to wait when the Lord will come. When the Lord will come, then he has to take rest. So what kind of nice arrangements should be there for making sure that Lord really gets comfort in sleeping, and then he elevates the fatigue from what he has been doing, right? Although Lord is absolute, but still he used to enact the pastimes of getting tired and coming, because that's a service which Lord wants to give to the devotees. He really rejoices the pastimes when the Lord is reprimanded by Mother Yashoda that what have you done today? Why did you take out the clothes of the devotee of the gopis, and any kind of mischief it Lord used to do? And why did you break the pots of other gopis? And then Lord used to fear Mother Yashoda. Similarly, he used to play with all his childhood friends, and then he used to get sometimes chastised by the friends. But Lord loves these reciprocations because everyone was surrendered to the Supreme Lord. And in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in one of the purports, Prabhupada has written very nice purports. Even in the first chapter, I got very aggrieved when I heard that sometimes there's a discussion to remove the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita from Bhagavad Gita, because apparently some devotees thought that the real devotional service and real description of what Lord wants to say start from second chapter. But if we read the first chapter Bhagavad Gita purports, those are so nice. It really sets the whole scene of how the Kurukshetra war was unfolded. And then there are very beautiful purports which Prabhupada has written. In one of the purports, Prabhupada writes that I've noted down that purport somewhere. Yeah. Although Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein as infallible. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. See, Lord never fails in rendering service to his devotees. He did with Arjuna. I think if we see the whole life of Pandavas, not only once, every time Lord was there with them. When they were exiled, the Pandavas were exiled and then asked to go to the forest, Lord Krishna used to constantly visit every place where the Pandavas resided. And in one particular pastime, Durvasa Muni came, and then I think he was very well attended in a grand form by Duryodhana. And then Duryodhana, out of envy, he just asked Maharishi Durvasa to go and visit Pandavas, because he knew that Pandavas would not be able to uh, treat him in a grand way, and then Lord Durvasa might get angry and then he can actually curse. That is the kind of intention people have, right? Those people who envy devotees, they always have this nature that, how can we create trouble to other devotees without any reason, right? So Durvasa Muni came, and then I think he just came in the front of the door, and then the Pandavas got frightened. What will happen? And at the same moment, Lord Krishna comes. Why? Because Pandavas were fully surrendered to the Supreme Lord. And in the first chapter, very beautiful purport, Prabhupada writes that uh, Lord reciprocates to the devotees in the proportion of their surrender. So our our senses, right, our hands, our legs, these are actually part and parcel of Lord's senses, and the proportion of our surrender decides what reciprocation Lord does. So let's say if we fear in surrendering fully, we sometimes say that, we are fully surrendered to the Supreme Lord, but do we call for Lord when some trouble arises? Sometimes we might forget to call out Lord for help whenever we are in deep trouble. And that shows that we are not fully surrendered, because at that critical juncture, we are not able to remember the Lord. We are forgetting that Lord is there to basically help us. And that time maybe the Lord, it depends on Lord, like we are doing devotional service, it is not sufficient. Sometimes Lord's mercy is also required, and he is not a sadistic God that he takes pleasure in seeing the devotees in trouble, right? He reciprocates at the right moment, and sometimes it is our anarthas which he wants to allay and then let us go in that situation. And we should appreciate, we should allow Lord to basically treat us the way he wants. There is a last verse in Chaitanya Shikshashtakam, right? Ashlishyava padratam pinastumam adarshanam marmatam karotuva yatha tatha va vididhatu lampato mat prananathastu saeva napara. O Lord, let me be trampled under your lotus feet. Let me be chastised. Let me be act in any way. I'm like a puppet. Please pull the string or let me fall down. Whatever you feel like, that is the highest attitude of surrender. I think beyond that, what can a devotee say to the Lord? And it is not a matter of just saying, it is enacting that. Lord Chaitanya enacted the pastimes of Antya Leela just like that. He used to roll in the ground, he used to fall down, and then he used to call. Sometimes he will jump, sometimes he will just fall down, and then he's completely, his mind was completely surrendered to the Lord, just thinking about Radha and Krishna. He was not able to think anything else. And sometimes such a person appears to be mad, right? From outside, we might think that Lord is acting like a madman, but that madness is spiritual. There is a spiritual madness, and that's an ecstasy. So there is Ashtavikar Bhava, which is basically a particular form of spiritual ecstasy, and none of us can enact that. We should never try to enact this. It is a natural feeling which comes at that particular stage when the highest surrender, a feeling of highest surrender and the separation arises. So that is the state when Lord fully takes over the devotee's body. I think nobody can actually dare to do that, and Lord takes complete control that time. But till then, we have to be patient. We have to keep on remembering ourselves that we have to remember the Lord. We have to submit to the Lord. And we should always try to engage with devotees, because without devotees, it is not a possibility. There are so many ways. There are Jnana Marga, there is Ashtanga Yoga, but nothing is as simple. I think in the verse we discussed that it is Rijubir, which is very easy. The most easy process Prabhupada has given to us to just engage in the worship of the Lord. And we should just continuously do that. And Lord Krishna is called Rishikesha. So when in the first chapter, Lord blows the shank, Panchajanyam. So Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya. He is referred to as Rishikesha because he is the owner of all the senses. And living beings, the living entities, they are part and parcel of him, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. And basically the verse where Lord Krishna, see, Lord Krishna always assures, he gives assurance that if you just keep on thinking about myself, if you just be with my devotees, don't worry, you will come to me, because by thinking in that way, you will certainly come to me, right? So this particular namaskar and whatever offers of devotional service we are doing, that is being done by thinking that Lord is absolute. It is his uh, persona on which we are we are doing our devotional service. So we should engage our mind in the eternal form, the primal form of the Lord, which is very beautiful. The black complexion, the yellow clothes which the Lord wears. I think I am very fond of continuously watching the DT of Radharamana. I think every day there is a beautiful video which is there in YouTube where Lord Radharamana is dressed in yellow, very beautiful form. You can see Lord's teeth, you can see Lord's fingernails, uh, beautiful feet of the Lord, and it is considered as complete form. So it has actually three forms of the Lord in that deity. We have Lord. I think it starts from the three deities of Vajranab, right? First is, I think, Radha Govinda Dev Ji. Then we have we have I'm forgetting the names of other two deities. So these deities are basically reflected in that one form of Radharaman, Sri Radharaman Ji. So we should try to take absorb that image of the Lord, and at the last moment, as the perfection of our life, which is Ante Narayana Smriti, we should practice that, such beautiful form of the Lord appears in front of our eyes when we take our last breath, because none of us know in what way we will leave our body, but it is certain that we have to leave our body someday. And that time, if that particular form of the Lord to whom we are attached to, it appears before our eyes, then that's a perfection of life. And that is not so easy. We have to continuously engage for that reason only, because we have to remember the Supreme Lord at the last moment. And not only that, even if we come to remember any Lord's devotees, if we can remember Lord, we can remember Srila Prabhupada, or any pure devotee with whom we have spent our life. Even that is considered very auspicious, because there is no difference between a pure devotee of the Lord and Lord. And one very beautiful purport Prabhupada has written in Bhagavad Gita, that pure devotee is one who is really pure at the heart, but there is another class of devotees who is also pure devotees. If we are trying to be pure devotee with 100% conviction, and Lord sees that, yes, although the devotee is not at a pure stage, but he or she is continuously endeavoring to go to that state, even that person is considered as pure devotee. So how merciful Supreme Lord is, how merciful Srila Prabhupada is, that he has given so easy definition of being a pure devotee. So either try to become a pure devotee, and if that is difficult, just try to become a pure devotee. Even then you will receive the same benefits which Lord awards to pure devotees. And with that conviction that, yes, in this life only we will attain perfection, let's I always pray that I don't want a second birth, from the sense of material birth. If Lord thinks that I should take birth to purify myself more and do some service, yes, that's welcome, but I don't want to take birth in material life again. I Every day I get convinced again and again that, yes, material world is not meant for pure devotees. And I'm not pure although, but I feel that every moment there is so much deceit people have in their heart. They act in a very complex way. And we should not get disturbed by that, but at the same time our conviction should become more and more stronger that please Lord, let me, please help me getting away from this material world. Please take me to your abode, or take me anywhere where I can be of any service to you, but not in this, not rotting in this material modes. If that is the conviction, that is the strength which it will give us to basically come out of that. And that is the thing which all of us should pray. I think that is the purest form of the pray, because we really will see that we don't want to be here. And actually, we should feel dangerous when the situation turns around where we slightly go in a comfortable state and looks like things are going okay. That's the most dangerous state, because at that time, the conviction to pray that, Lord, please take me out of this material world will not come very strong. In fact, we might be okay that, yeah, looks like there is already mercy flowing, and our life is going in a comfortable situation. But no, that's the Maya which is acting. And then it's basically, there are two forms of Maya, right? So in if we see the Mahamaya, there is Avranatmika Shakti and there is Prakshepatmika Shakti. So there, when we go to a state where we see that, okay, our things are slightly settling down, it's actually the Avranatmika Maya which is actually acting. And it is just a moment, the trouble is just around the corner. And the moment you will feel that you are settled down, you will be kicked by Prakshepatmika Shakti, which is basically, you will be left to basically take the beatings of the three modes. So the more and more such instances happen in our life, we should feel convinced that we have to get out of this material world, no matter how. A devotee is not interested in anything else except the devotional service of the Lord, which is prescribed by the acharyas. And that's the reason we should always try to correlate that our activities are guided under the principles of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. We have to understand what Guru is saying. We should get conviction from Shastra, and we should follow the path of sadhus, because sadhus will train us how to follow that particular devotional service. And it's very simple. There is nothing much to be done. Just continuously engage, keep on engaging in this devotional service. And I'm sure that Prabhupada will show us mercy. Our Guru Maharaj will show us mercy on us. And all the devotees, especially, their mercy will also be needed to be eligible to become either a pure devotee or getting a conviction that at least we are trying to become a pure devotee. And that is sufficient. Nothing more is needed. And after that, just surrender, fully surrender. If Lord wants you to take birth, and then engage in whatever service Lord wants you to do. And if Lord wants to take you to back home, back to Godhead, yeah, there will be services awaiting there also, right? And then feel free to basically take any service which you want. And while we are in this present body, let's try to actively engage in some service, either book distribution, temple worship, temple cleaning, preaching, preparing prasad, or even if we are not able to devote our time, we can do by Lakshmi Seva. We should try to have a habit of regularly contributing something to the temple. And I think when we took initiation, we were taught that not only the temples, not only the guru with whom you take initiation, the local temples where we go, and that's a managerial line which we have to follow, and that is also needed because they are doing preaching for that area and you are in that area, and it is our responsibility to help temple in such activities. Yeah. So with that, I will put my words to rest, and yeah, if there is any questions or any points from anyone, Prabhujis and Matajis, please feel free to comment. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, you are audible, Prabhu. Class was wonderful. Good points to ponder on. I don't know if anyone were asking any questions. Any question for Prabhu?
Prabhu, if I may have a question.
Yes,
Prabhu, very wonderful class. I think very enlightening and very straight to the point. There's one point where you made saying that I would not like to take birth again in the material world.
yes,
So, do we take it as an order saying that I do not want to take birth in the material world for my own enjoyment? But if,
Yeah.
If it is Krishna's plan, it is, he wants me to come and do something, or he wants me to be an instrument in some of those areas, then that should be accepted, even if it is in this material world. Because all of us know that Srila Prabhupada was a pure devotee. And Srila Prabhupada came to the material world just to liberate the devotees, and not for his own personal material enjoyment. So is that what we need to really understand, saying that, yes, I may take birth in the material world, but for not material enjoyment, not for sense gratification, but for executing the orders of the Lord.
Yes, bro, absolutely. I think that was the intention. So when I prayed just like that, because somehow I get very disturbed, Prabhu, that when there are people who so I'll tell you an example, right? So why that has prompted me to think like that. Absolutely, you are right that I'm actually ready to take birth if I get a life where I can serve devotees. That's a desire to basically take birth in that way. But the kind of complex nature people have these days, the people who are simple hearted, it's very difficult for them to stay in such an association. And unfortunately, lot of us are grihasthas who unfortunately have to go to offices or maybe to our businesses where we might not always be surrounded with devotees or the people who have a very simple thinking. There are very complex thinking people have developed. Something can be done very simply, but they unnecessarily twist it and then ask you to act in a certain way. You have to basically go against the order which Lord has given in Bhagavad Gita, and that pains, right? Unfortunately, we have to walk that path because we can't deny that, because that person is at a superior position. But every moment I kind of realize that this kind of activity is exact violation of what Lord Krishna says. People have given me advices to not be straightforward and try to be diplomatic, where it is very easily you can just think that this thing can be told in a straightforward way without hurting anybody, but it's the real truth. But they ask me to withhold that and do that. So from that thought, right, when these things happen, person like me tend to think that this material world is a very complex place, and devotees, sometimes non-devotees, uh, you can say there is a adhyatmic klesha, which is basically arisen due to some of these things. And at that moment I thought that let me not take birth again, Lord, if this is the kind of situation. But yes, I agree fully to your point that Prabhupada has also taken birth in this life, and then sometimes the devotees, the pure devotees, they have to take birth to basically create renunciation in other devotees and then uplift other people, uplift fallen souls. So if that is the task given by the Supreme Lord, yes, I'm fully surrendering myself to take birth again and do that. But just because I was perturbed by that unnecessary pain which is caused to the mind, I tend to pray like that let me either take birth in spiritual world or a place where I can be completely away from all these things, which I unfortunately did not want to do, but now I'm forced to act. So is that clear, Prabhu? That is the thought which...
Absolutely, Prabhu. Very nicely said, very nicely phrased. Appreciate that. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Yeah. Any other question or any other point from anybody? Sorry, I just happened to prepare the lecture in a very short notice, and I'm not very versed in giving classes. I think this is my first Bhagavad Gita class, Srimad Bhagavatam class. I have given a few Bhagavad Gita classes, but I think with practice, I will prepare more. I have a very short memory, so I am not very good in remembering verses. So that's the reason I have noted down the verses. Somehow just please pray for me that I remember the verses, because I feel that in preaching that is very necessary. And if these quotations from Shastra, from Prabhupada, comes right at the time when we are thinking, I think preaching will be very effective. And that's something which I'm endeavoring and praying for the mercy of all the senior Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis here.
Hey God, Prabhu, you're extremely good. You're bang on. So don't have to worry that you're giving the first class. But I think you drove home the points that were really required to be in this particular verse. So you're good at it, Prabhu. Prabhu, you're extremely good.
Yes, class was good, Prabhu. Radhapati Madhav Das here, who
Yes, Prabhu.
coordinated for your class.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
So your preparation was well, and no worries. It was really wonderful. And thanks in taking up the service in a short notice. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Ready
Hare
for
Krishna.
taking these services more and more. I am actually come to my hometown, so I will return to Bangalore by the end of May, and we'll visit temple
Okay.
once again. Yeah.
Sure, Prabhu. Fine. So we'll end here. If no one has questions. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Vanchakalpitarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaः. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
So I'm ending the session now. We'll
Yes,
see you all tomorrow. Hare Krishna.